Good morning, wrestling fans, and welcome to PWR today, December 24th, 2021. The man they call Meathead, the man they call Matthew Thomas, the fat man cometh tonight, Matthew.
This is your very special Christmas Eve edition of PWR today. I mean, this
Christmas
is a
Eve
special,
day,
special episode.
So for those of you working today, enjoy your day. I know you're getting let out early. Get home early, get on the train, listen to the PWR Today podcast. It's a normal Friday for us. We're BAU, business as usual. Did you know what that acronym stood for, BAU?
I was confused. I thought it meant, I thought it stood for buyers.
Buyers and underwear.
Yes. But then it does make sense that it stands for what you said it stands for as well. You know what? And this might actually be what Santa Claus is listening to. I mean, he's working hard tonight. You know, I've heard through the grapevine he might be a fan of this very podcast. So that's one guy I know is going to be working.
That's why I was able to call it out. The fat man cometh tonight. Make sure you're watching your Doppler radar to see where Slay is.
Absolutely. You know, we if we aired a little bit later tonight, we could do maybe that's what we do next year.
We'll air at whatever time you turn on your podcast.
That is true. We could be airing in the future for all you know. I mean, future generations could be listening to this episode. It's very, very possible. You know, it could be some, cataclysmic thing that happened to Earth. And then, this might be the only piece of media that actually survives the destruction of the planet. And so people from different galaxies could very well be listening to this.
Like that movie from the 80s that, where all the, digital media or all the media travel to another planet. And this is what they think we are. And this is all that survives. So they think Earth is nothing but PWR today.
It's very possible. I mean, I tell you, it's one of those things. You just got to preface it. We got to put it out there, in case somebody's listening to this in centuries in the
year
the future.
3000. Do you know the sketch I'm doing? Do you know the song?
That's Conan, right?
Oh, absolutely. Because after the year 2000, it didn't make sense to do the year 2000. So it's year 3000.
There you go.
Even though he did it for a while after the year 2000 and said in the year 2000, and the joke was, what was going to happen, even though it was like 5 years ago. Which is funny to me. I mean, I don't care. Matthew, who sponsors this Mensa-worthy performance that we're getting?
Oh, that's Collar and Elbow brand. And, I think people from future galaxies in the future, distant galaxies in the future, that's pretty much what everybody walking around Earth wears is Collar and Elbow brand, available exclusively at Collar and Elbow.
Demolition Man, Taco Bell wins. The only clothing that wins in the year 3000 is Collar and Elbow.
I think that pretty much goes without saying. And if you want to stock up for the only clothing that's going to matter in the future, enter promo code LindaKay, LINDAKAY. Save yourself 10% and invest in your future wardrobe.
Fair enough. Hey, let's talk about the future. And the future at AEW is Serena Deeb teaching the women's division. Serena Deeb revealed that while she was out with an injury earlier in the year, she took on a coaching and producer role at AEW, similar to her job with WWE, which is absolutely fantastic. If there's somebody out there in the women's division right now I want teaching future female wrestlers, it is Serena Deeb. I mean, she's the woman of 1,000 holds, and she's the Dean Malenko of the women's division. So, I'm happy to see Serena Deeb out there. Plus, when she was wrestling around the Straight Edge Society time and, hanging out with CM Punk and all that, Fit Finley, I believe, was running the women's division at that point. So she's learned. I mean, it's like the coaching trees of the NFL. Now Serena Deeb out there teaching the women.
Yeah, and I think you can really tell a difference in this last year in the women's division in AEW, and you got to think some of that credit certainly goes to her. And speaking of fit in that women's division, if you haven't already, I believe it's episode 3 of the new season of Ruthless Aggression. Really good episode.
Ruthless Aggression.
Yeah, thank you there, Vince. That looks at the women's division during that time period, and a lot of it's featuring Fit.
All right. Not a ton news-wise going on. We're heading into the holiday season, obviously. We don't need to keep banging the desk about how bad ticket sales are for WWE. So let's talk instead about the upcoming product tonight. Smackdown preview for December 24th, 2021. Enjoy the holiday season with a 12 Days of Christmas 12-man gauntlet match for an Intercontinental title opportunity. Matthew, I'm going to name off these talents here, and it's going to be difficult because you know how when we watch the shows and some of these talents that haven't been on for a while show up on TV, and then you're like, wait, who's that?
Yeah.
Well, all of these talents are in the 12-man gauntlet match for an Intercontinental title opportunity. Ricochet, Cesaro, Mansoor, Eric, Ivar, Drew Gulak, Sheamus, Sami Zayn, Jinder Mahal, Shanky, Angel, and Umberto compete in the 12 Days of Christmas 12-man gauntlet match. I think that's everybody that doesn't get normal TV time on SmackDown.
No, you're exactly right. And, they've at least got 4 more people there because they're throwing some tag teams in there as well, too. So it's a thin roster, and they are really stretching
tag teams in there.
Yeah. I mean, that's 12-man gauntlet, and so basically you've got 6 individual competitors and then, 3 tag teams, basically.
3 tag teams.
It's essentially what you're.
You got Jinder and, excuse me. You got Jinder and Shanky. You've got the Viking Raiders, and you've got the Lethal Lotharios. Yeah.
And that's really a division where, you've not gotten a lot of attention on that Intercontinental title as it's been. I mean, Shinsuke's been kind of doing his thing with Boogs, and they, in a lot of cases, and they've kind of been presented as a tag team.
They have, but honestly, has Shinsuke been presented really as the Intercontinental Champion?
No, I don't know when the last time there was actually a title defense. I'm probably missing something from like 2 weeks ago or something.
Contender.
Yeah, but it's just not. It's just not heavily featured. It's really. I mean, you got to look at what they're doing with those mid-card titles. That, and then the United States Championship. It's been a little bit more of Damian Priest's new character and not a viable contender for that title either. I mean, you're back at a period where they're just not getting those mid-card titles, are not getting a ton of attention.
Paul Heyman, even though fired from Roman Reigns and the Bloodline, and the T-shirts are no longer relevant either, by the way. Paul Heyman fired, will be on SmackDown tonight to speak for the first time since being released of his duties. Quite literally a man without an island of relevancy. Heyman will speak about being let go with extreme prejudice. Extreme prejudice.
Heyman, Lesnar, Roman is much must-see TV the last 3 weeks or so.
Please have Farmer Brock on tonight.
I hope Farmer Brock's on there. I hope Santa Brock is on there.
Oh, Santa Brock. Santa with muscles.
That would be, which is a highly underrated movie. In the scope of all Hulk, in the scope of all Hulk Hogan movies, Santa with muscles doesn't get its fair share of respect there. So I encourage you, if you can find it. It's not one that tends to pop up a lot, even this time of year in syndication or in collections. But if you can find Santa with muscles, it's definitely, hey, you need something to do with your whole family today or tomorrow or anytime around this holiday season. I think sitting around a nice fire and watching Santa with muscles, and when your family loves you for it, you can say, thank you, Matt. Matthew Thomas was the one who gave me this recommendation.
All right. Little off the beaten path, but the question has to be asked. Who played the better Santa Claus? Hulk Hogan in Santa with Muscles or Bill Goldberg in Santa's Sleigh?
I'm partial to Hulk there.
Apparently, Bill Goldberg being Jewish playing Santa is kind of funny. But, this is a hell deer, the buffalo-like beast. Santa arrives at Hell Township and decimates the local in various holiday-themed ways. So Santa Claus is a killer.
Santa Claus is a killer, and it's Bill Goldberg.
Yep. Bill Goldberg playing Santa as a killer.
Oh, my goodness. But I mean, Bill Goldberg has threatened to kill people on television this year as Bill Goldberg. Keep that in mind.
Well, I mean, there's been people that murder ass too, or pound ass, or whatever we heard on AEW this week.
Yes, indeed.
All right. So not only do we get the 12-man gauntlet, we get the no longer chief counsel. What was his term again? He was the wise man. He was the special counsel. That's it. But is he going to be an advocate to Farmer/Santa Brock? We also get Toni Storm challenging Charlotte Flair for the SmackDown Women's title on Christmas Eve. The Nikki Sixx of WWE, Toni Storm getting a title shot.
I like this. I don't think the title's going to change, but I like this interaction. And keep in mind, last week, I mean, it was significant. Her getting a pinfall victory over the current women's champion. Don't think the title's going to change here, but I like the way Toni Storm has been featured, in the last month or so on SmackDown, being able to go toe-to-toe with Charlotte. All
right, tomorrow night, because normally it would be on tonight on TNT, but you guys know that you're going to shoot your eye out, kid. It's going to be playing 24 hours. So tomorrow night on TNT for Christmas, AEW Rampage Holiday Bash Night 2 on a special night and time will air at 9 Eastern, 8 Central, featuring TNT champion Sammy Guevara taking on the American Nightmare Cody Rhodes, legit Layla Hirsch taking on Chris Statlander, Jungle Boy and Isaiah Cassidy, Hook and Bear Bronson. Wow, is that 4 matches again on a Rampage?
Yeah, and another, looking at this card going ahead, man, you talk about the pacing of the show. I think you open a show with Hook. I think Hook
really?
opens.
Are you sure it's not Sammy versus Cody?
I think that closes. I think, you've got the title on the line that has the importance there. I think Hook is the shot in the arm this crowd needs to get this crowd hot and into it.
Well, I believe, and I haven't looked at it, I don't think it's going to be live. I think it's going to be taped. No, it's obviously Wednesday night show.
It's got to be, I would imagine. And then, that goes into it like, you would
Hook
think
is the number one merchandise pusher.
Yeah, right now. And if you got that crowd hot after that crowd after that match with Sting and everything, man, I think you bring Hook out there to get him fired back up again.
Okay, I understand. Well, Matthew, it being the day before Christmas, again, the Fat Man cometh tonight. We don't have a ton to talk about, so this is literally from the hip. I want to talk about the year 2021. Let us talk about what your favorite match is. Now, of course, don't use your, goggles to, just look at what we saw in the last couple of weeks. I want you to think over 2021 match of the year.
Yeah. So, it's definitely within the last week. So, of course, the first thing that's on my mind is Danielson and Page.
Let's disqualify that one.
All right. So if we disqualify that, I think you go back actually to earlier this year, and for me, it's got to be Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa.
Ooh,
that is up there. That
was a lights out match, right?
Yeah. That's what I go back to. We get rid of what we saw last week. That's probably my match of the year.
There was a really good match that had Kenny Omega defeating Rich Swann for the Impact Championship. Yeah. That was just talked about on Impact last night because they were doing their best of 2021.
Yeah. Well, and I think what really the thing with that makes that match even more special, Britt Baker, Thunder Rosa, it was in Daly's place when you maybe had a few fans there, but you're actually doing that without the without the audience response. And what I think is one of the more interesting things to talk about this year is, we were talking about prior to audiences coming back, how excited everybody was going to be to get back and how ravenous these crowds were going to be. Yeah. And that's happened for one company.
I was going to say they've been ravenous crowds, but for which company?
Yeah. And you were the one who made the point. It's like, all right, if WWE keeps this booking up, it doesn't matter, eventually it doesn't matter if you have people in the stands, it's the same product you're putting out.
It happened by September.
It's not going, you honestly, man, I don't know if you had a 1 month buffer there. I don't know if you had a 1 month
because they started their live shows at the end of July.
Yeah.
Working their way into SummerSlam.
Mm-hmm.
And they had that buzz, that feel good of getting back to it, burn off very quickly.
Well, and I think
you were in the building at SummerSlam in Vegas, and then honestly, since SummerSlam, I don't think it's there anymore.
Yeah. It's really not. And I mean, you look at the attendance numbers, and then you look at what the
ticket sales.
Yeah, what the arenas look like, and you're just what has been so interesting this year to me has been the fact that you have them starting out the year with WWE trying to go the perception of, AEW is competition to NXT. We're going to put this on Wednesday night to show you, hey, the talk is going to be about the Wednesday night wars. It's going to be the competition is going to be NXT versus AEW. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. It's not WWE main roster versus AEW. This is quintessentially on par with our developmental territory. And WWE got toasted in that rating to the point.
Instead of a year, by the way, too.
To the point, they basically abandoned ship. They changed that. What was there in a lot of, you can make the case, and a lot of people in this industry, that was the flagship as far as WWE quality wrestling went. They just they picked it up and just changed it all together. And we have had, not only them moving off of Wednesday nights, but we have had them completely reforming their product into an NXT 2.0.
Very well put. All right, Matthew, male wrestler of the year.
Oh my goodness. That is tough. I'm
going to give you.
I've
started off. I'll give you a second.
Go for it. Give me your opinion.
Even though there's a gap between him moving from company to company, you can't argue Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson.
No, and that's where I was going. I was trying to see if my rose-colored glasses were a little bit on too tight because of what we saw last week.
Back to his WWE stuff then.
Yeah. So here's what I want to put. He main evented WrestleMania, and he was featured in a 60
Came in like a ball of fire.
Yeah, he was featured in a 60-minute match on free TV last week for a completely different company. And I think from also too seeing the lighter schedule that he ran, in the fact where he is wrestling on TV every week, I think you've either got to go Bryan Danielson or you've got to look at the length of this reign that Roman Reigns has had. And I think he's done a really solid job of keeping, kind of transitioning from the Thunderdome to live crowds. And you don't have people booing Roman Reigns out of the building anymore. I mean, that guy,
but I mean, he's getting a mixed crowd. They're still respecting him, acknowledging him, as he'll say.
Yeah. So I'm leaning more towards Bryan Danielson, just in the fact that you've seen him do that over both companies, and you're seeing now. Go back to Norfolk. Go back to that guy who was such a big surprise, a month or two earlier, to be able to turn heel and shift that crowd on the drop of a hat like that. I mean, it was a matter of absolute seconds. And he got a little more of a favorable response a couple of nights ago in Greensboro than I've heard recently. But the fact that his heel work is so
he's
substantial.
He's still coming out of the face tunnel, too.
Yeah, the fact that his heel work is so substantial, and he can get, the appropriate reaction, I think that makes the case for him. Just in-ring ability paired with the fact that this guy can be, whatever he's needed to be.
Yeah. That's an amazing point. Female of the year.
I think it's easily Britt Baker.
I think it's Britt Baker as well, because Britt Baker took over that division, and it was a slow burn to get her the title, even though she was still running the division. She wasn't champion the whole time, and once she got it, she's running with it.
No, without a doubt. And I mean, you look at where everybody's at with the women's division in WWE, and you've got two very, very strong champions, but we've been there before, and it does not feel like necessarily this meteoric rise like we're having with Britt Baker. It feels new, and it feels organic. I mean, because that was a heel that was getting over, and I mean, there was a groundswell if we want this person to really be, their first torchbearer in that women's division, because I just don't think the as
she'd have had that belt a long time, but it was through the COVID era and wasn't defended often.
Yeah. And as good as the talent was, with the former champion, it just I think Britt Baker's really the person that's put it on the map and actually got people talking about the women's division now.
Yep, fair enough. I gotta agree. All right, so folks, that'll lead us into Christmas. Like I said, the Fat Man cometh Monday morning. We will talk about what happened on SmackDown, talk about what happened on Rampage. We'll talk about what kind of presents we unwrapped underneath the tree. So Matthew Thomas, Linda Kay, who's down there selling popcorn like the machine she is. Look at, have you seen Linda Kay on the social medias just selling popcorn along with the fanny pack kid?
Every by people doing all kinds of crazy stuff with popcorn now. It's insane.
Fair enough. For Linda, for Matthew, on the Man They Call Meathead, Happy Christmas and Merry Festivus and Kwanzaa and all the others. I'm kidding. Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy holidays. We will talk to you Monday morning. So long, everyone.